Hello, this is Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours, and thank you for joining us for our Saturday live stream. Today, our special guest is Sarah, who's going to talk about moving from Texas to Panama, her and her husband, and I think she brought a dog or two also. So we'll bring her on in just a little bit, but while we're waiting for other people to come into the live stream, because they're just now starting to roll in, I'm going to make just a quick announcement. For those of you that are new, thank you so much for being here. My name's Jackie Lang, the owner of Panama Relocation Tours. Since 2010, we've been helping people move to Panama the right way with our all-inclusive 6-day, 7-night tours. We also offer private tours if you know you want to live in a certain area, and we have something called our online guide, which is also perfect if you know you want to live in a certain area, because that has all the information you need to move to Panama the right way. So you can get more information about that on our website at panamarelocationtours.com. Let me put the banner up here real quick, panamarelocationtours.com. And while you're there, be sure and subscribe to our newsletter so you can get our 15 free lessons about moving to and living in Panama. So let me get back over here to the comments. So once again, thank you so much for being here, everybody. We see our regulars. Monique from London is here every single Saturday for years and years and years. And I see Patricia and Wesley and people from all over the world are coming in. We got a lot of people from Alabama and Texas, it seems like, today. But thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and bring Sarah on so she can start sharing her story. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Thanks you so much for being here. You look beautiful. You got my favorite color on. I love turquoise.
That's right.
Yep. So let's start with just telling everybody when did you move to Panama? Where did you move from? And where did you move to?
So we moved to Panama in September of 2021, and we moved to Boquete, to a house that you helped us find. Mm-hmm. And we moved from Texas, and I can't say enough. Up until February of 2021, we really hadn't planned on moving, but just as we got older and we were just looking at the state of the world and the state of the state, and we realized we really
prices going up and up and up.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
We couldn't afford to get old in America, and we had traveled a lot. So we started looking at different countries. We looked at Costa Rica, we looked at Mexico, we looked at several other countries, and we had 5 criteria, and none of the other countries met all 5 criteria. And a friend of mine had been talking about moving to Panama. Stan Renee Miller had talked about moving to Panama, and I was curious, and I started watching your videos, and I was mesmerized. And I started doing research about the pricing. I started doing research about, the cost of living and the culture and safety and security and all of it. And it met all 5 criteria. And so we started talking about Panama on February 19th. And on February 26th, we bought the guide. And so 5 months later, 5-ish months later, we were here.
You were here. Well, and the online guide, it's perfect for someone that you already pretty much know which area you want to move to. You don't need the all-inclusive tour. You don't need to see all the country. You can do all the exploring later on after you move here. But if you know that, okay, I'm going to make a beeline and go to this particular area, I know that's where I at least want to get started, then the online guide is perfect for that, because it gives you your contact for your immigration attorneys, for real estate people. It gets you into our private Facebook group, which is a wealth of information of people just sharing their personal experiences and, do this and don't do that, and use this person and don't use that person. And because it's a private group, we share information that you wouldn't put in public necessarily.
I literally made a notebook from all the information that I got in the Facebook group and had cross-referenced it to the online guide. We found our attorney there. But the little things, the nuances that are specific to each one of us, you would meet somebody in the group who had a similar situation. You mentioned we brought dogs. We brought 3 small dogs. Well, everyone's dog transportation experience is different, but we were able to figure out what was going to work best for us. And that group, the combination of the online guide and the group was perfect for us because we had traveled so much. And I can only imagine how much more enhanced that would be with the actual tour itself.
Right. Right. So you brought 3 dogs with you. Were they able to fly in cabin, or do you have to ship them in cargo? Or maybe 1 in cargo and 2 in cabin?
They were too large to ship in cabin, and I didn't want to ship them in cargo. So we actually used, at the time, and everything's changed so much in the 3 years we've been here, we used DHL. We went to a private company that was familiar with shipping animals, and they used DHL. We drove from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas to Miami, and then we put the dogs with us, the shipper there. And so they were for overnight and then the 2-hour flight the next day.
Wow. Yeah, quick and easy. Yeah, from Miami, it's less than 2.5, 3-hour flight. It's really fast. So you're only separated for a little while, and that made it easy.
And I will say for anybody, it is more stressful for us, I think, than it is for them. They feel our stress.
Yeah.
We couldn't explain to them what was going on and why we were having to leave them. And then, you're going to get on this plane. But they managed fine. We used a Golden Frog when we got here, and he was a champ. He went and got them, and so, and then we used Mexico movers to ship our stuff. And
now, did you do like a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container?
We took a 20-foot container, and I know everybody's situation's different, but as you can see, I'm
bring all that beautiful quilting.
We literally, about a third of the shipping container was my quilting fabric, my machines, my all stuff, and then my husband he likes to smoke meat, and so he brought a huge smoker and a lot of those supplies, and then there's other things that hobbies and other things that we brought. We curated pretty carefully. You'd be pretty proud of us. We only sold about 5 things when we got here, like some heater.
I remember when you were selling so much stuff, and I saw those cowboy boots, and I wish I had those. And
oh my God.
and, because I'm from Texas too, saw that Texas stuff that you were selling. But then I thought, well, if I had it, I'd never wear it anywhere. I would never wear it. But man, those are beautiful.
I had 17 pairs, and I kept one.
And they were beautiful.
Oh yeah, but the best part, I will say, we sold so much stuff, and the irony is, we've been married about 22 years at the time we moved, and you're going through all this stuff, and you're like, where did we get this? Who gave this to us, and why do we have it? So you're curating stuff, and so we only brought the things that were precious or special. And since moving here, we only sold like 4 things that we don't use, like a Keurig coffee maker, the water filter, and I think a couple heaters. So we did good. We did good.
Isn't it liberating to just liquidate so many things that you had and just wipe the slate clean and start all over again and just bring your favorite things? It's so liberating.
And I will say, since moving here, the biggest thing I can say is that you don't realize what a consumeristic society you live in until here's family, home, hearth, stuff like that. But it seems that in the US, it's just consume, buy more. Oh, you'll be happier if you buy this thing and if you buy that thing. And then you have to get a storage room to hold the other stuff that doesn't fit in your house.
Yeah. And it's just 2 people, but you need a 4-bedroom house for all that stuff that you have. And
100%.
Yeah. So it's liberating to get off that merry-go-round of just, you just, every time I go to the United States, I see these big billboards, buy this, buy that, go to this store, go to that store, and it pulls people in. And that's, I think, why so many people in North America are in credit card debt up to here, because they, keeping up with the Joneses and just buying stuff. But here, nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's just
this is about experiences. I think one of the things we've really discovered is that Panama isn't about stuff. It's
yeah,
about experiences. It's about being with your friends. It's about,
right.
I have discovered, shockingly, and anybody who's watching this who knows me will be equally astonished, I am way more domestic than I thought I would be. I love cooking house. I like cooking. And I realized I resented it before because I was so busy doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, gardening and things that are too hot. It's too hot in Texas to be outside and do gardening, but here in Panama, in some parts of Panama, the weather's just so pleasant. You want to be out there and plant some more flowers or watch your pineapple grow because it takes forever. But
right. And we've got something that's eating. We have like 8 pineapple plants. Oh, they're the sweetest. The pineapples here, I swear, taste like they're dipped in honey. If you didn't cut it yourself, you would think that the pineapples had been dipped in honey. And but we have something that some little critter that likes our pineapples better than we do. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, you'll lose some, that's for sure.
We can buy them for $1, so they can have them.
Now, I remember when you were moving here, one of the things that made me a little bit nervous is that you wanted to just have a place that you could move to. And, I always say, well, you really need to just kind of stay in a place for a couple of weeks. And you need to physically go see the place and make sure you like it because the pictures can look great.
Right.
But the next door neighbor might have 12 dogs that bark all the time, or they might be raising fighting roosters that make noise all the time, or auto repair shop across the street. The house that you see is a little different than maybe what the surroundings are. Luckily, you moved into a neighborhood that's more like a North American style neighborhood. The straight streets and the houses are evenly spaced. And they have restrictions, so you're not going to have auto repair shop across the street or fighting roosters or things like that. But it definitely made me nervous at first. But I remember that you really, really wanted to get, and I started sending you, every time I saw something that I thought would be a good fit, I was sending it to you. And one of them, you really liked it. You talked to the people that were already there, if I remember right, besides the property manager. I've known her since 2010, and she's trustworthy and honest, and she's going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is what you need to know to make a decision. But luckily, it all worked out. So are you in the same house now that you moved into when you first moved here, right?
We are. We're in the same house now, and the irony of anybody being in any house is the people who lived here before, who are darling people, didn't like it, and we love it. And so it's a perfect example of what's good for one person may not be good for another person. So I want to say this. One of the things that I think has made us be content here is that one of our biggest things was, we just wanted like a water filter. We wanted, a fenced yard. I mean, we tried to keep our wants really simple. It's not like, oh, I have to have granite countertops, or I have to have, some of these modern North American conveniences. We wanted safe and secure, and the filtered water were some of the big things. But we've just been blessed, lucky, whatever. But there are so many lovely houses here. And I think as long as when someone moves here, I think that you have to remember you're moving to a different country. Right. And so what was lovely in your country, it may be different here. The houses are just every color you can imagine, right?
Yeah. And every room in the house could be a different color too.
Every room in the house could be a different color. And most of the reason that they don't mow lawns is because there's so many rocks everywhere, right? So you're not going to always have these pristine lawns. But I think if you can appreciate Panama for what it is, if you come here and I'm next door to a house that's blue this year, but it was Pepto-Bismol pink 2 years ago. But I love it because to me, that is just reflective of the country that we're in. And that is part and parcel to the fact that it's just one of the things that we love about Latin American countries is I just think that they they live more out loud.
Yeah, they do. It's like walking through a rainbow, I tell people, because there's just so many different colors everywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, and one of the other things, you know, the thing that I love about Panama is all the walking. Everybody's walking in these
Mhm.
neighborhoods. Lots of walking. You see so many people walking, and in the U.S., that's really not normal. If you see someone walking, you're like, golly, ooh, you know.
Well, when it's 110 degrees outside, you really don't want to walk. But
100%. Or if it's too cold in another.
yeah, or it's too cold, but it's, the weather's just pleasant in our area. But even, at the coastal areas, if you walk, before noon, it's very pleasant.
Yeah.
That's good. Let me take care of this one little problem right here. We always have somebody that comes in here trying to spam people with they're going to give them a loan for some money or something like that. So anyway, let me get rid of that person.
Not a problem.
3 times. Hold on. It's so rude for people to do things like that. So whenever you moved here, you had not actually visited Panama. I mean, you took the video tours from Panama Relocation Tours and other videos that are out there, and I'm sure you saw, lots of articles everywhere. But just in your research, without visiting first, you were able to determine that this was the place to go, right?
Well, again, what we looked for, and I think it's so important for anybody who comes here, is you've got to decide what are you looking for. You can't come here and reproduce the U.S. You're leaving the country to get something new, and so we had traveled enough in Latin American countries. There's not always going to be sidewalks. There might be trash next to the road. There might be unfinished construction, or just fill in the blanks of things that you're not used to in the U.S. But for us, that was fine. What we wanted a really good cost of living. We wanted health care, a good level of security. We wanted the exchange rate couldn't be better. It's the U.S. dollar. I don't have to figure it out, right? And then
a stable government with a good economy here is a big plus,
right?
For Panama.
And then the culture. So we got all 5 things here. And I mean, I can't say enough, just to speak of, healthcare. We've had a medical emergency or two, and the healthcare that's available, either urgent care or our experience with the hospital, has been fantastic. We have the phone numbers. I have the phone numbers for my cardiologist, for my husband's doctor, we can call them on the number on the phone that they carry with them. There's no
their cell phones.
Their cell phones, right? The pharmacy, you have to go to the doctor. You want a certain medicine that you have to go to the doctor every time in the US. But here, the doctor says, oh, you need this. I can go in, show them a picture. And unless it's a painkiller or some sort of a, like a mental health, I can't think of what that word is. But
anxiety, depression,
a couple things that you have to have prescriptions for, but 90% of the other stuff, I can just go in and say, my doctor says I need this.
Mm-hmm.
That's magical, right?
Right.
And the food, I've got to say, one of the things that I got to do today is, the food here is so off the chart, fresh and flavorful. Like we're in the bread basket, right? So I have farms who deliver here.
Mm-hmm.
Local farms. I mean, the stuff that I'm getting on my counter and your counter and other people here was literally picked a couple of days ago. Or we order pork or beef from a local farm. Well, it was oinking or mooing, a week or so ago. And so it doesn't get fresh than that. And, I just think the fact that the stress levels are so much lower, the food is so much better, more healthy, and the healthcare is just so spot on in terms of our experience has been medically, it's been spot on. But as you and I were talking about earlier, they literally care that you get better. They're looking you in the eye, talking to you. They're concerned about your lifestyle, your life, not just, oh, take this medicine. They're like, it's a completely different, it's like immersive medicine where they're concerned about the whole you.
Yeah, and Also, just if you just something minor, you can just go into the doctor's office and be seen. Usually in 10 minutes. You don't have to make an appointment and wait 3 weeks because you've got a sinus infection today and they say go later. So it's just amazing that we can just go in. You don't need an appointment.
But
But
even for major things, I was able to go to the hospital recently and I had gotten an order. I got an echocardiogram. I got a cardiac calcium score. I know people who have gotten you just get a handwritten order by your doctor. You walk in and get an MRI. You're not waiting to go see, oh, your PCP has to refer you over here. And then you got to go over here and then you got to. And so it is a different experience. I will say the thing that you have to get used to as an American is that we've given up control for convenience. So we don't have to think about scheduling and we don't have to think about a lot of other things because of the convenience. So you have to take charge of your health and schedule your own appointments and you have to follow up and be more proactive. But I think in a way it makes you more aware of and responsible for your own health.
Right. I think even though people can, like if you have high blood pressure medicine, high cholesterol medicine, or things like that, you don't need a prescription. You can just go and refill it without seeing a doctor, which is great. But it can also be not great because if you've got those kind of conditions, you may need to have like once a year at least a follow up with your doctor and annual lab work to see if it's improved, has it gotten worse, or things like that. Instead of just taking the same pill all the time, perhaps you can cut your medication in half because things have improved because you start eating this wonderful Panama food. And even though you don't need a prescription for meds, it's still a good idea to see a doctor at least once a year, even if you feel great, and get your annual lab work, which is $42 for a complete panel of everything. And you don't need a doctor's prescription for that. You can just go into lab and say, yeah, I want some of these and a couple of those, and give me that.
I had seen that posted. I think maybe Debbie Klappa had talked about, oh, look, here's this thing, go into this lab. And I told my friends in the US, I just walked in and I showed them this, I'd like these things. And I got that lab. I got it that afternoon. I went in the morning and I had my lab results, like full lab results by that afternoon for $42.
For $42. It's just amazing.
But
and you didn't need a doctor's prescription to get it. You can take control of your own health. I like to get all of my like vitamin D, B12. I want to know, where does that stand? And you can go in and you can just get all of that if you want to, or you can get just a little bit of everything. But you still need to, instead of just getting refills on your pills all the time, you still need to, like you said, take control of your own health and get some lab work at least once a year. See a doctor at least once a year and let them, after you've done the lab work, and let them review it and see if there needs to be some modifications.
And you know what I love here as well is that there are some doctors that practice more holistic approaches. So there are some doctors that are what I would say be traditional. They're going to approach some medical conditions by saying, okay, you need this statin, or you need this blood pressure medicine, or you need this. But there's also other doctors who say, well, before we do that, why don't we try this green smoothie, or walk more, or eat these fruit. I mean, they'll try other things. So you get these layers of different doctors that practice different ways. I have found as well that these doctors in the US seem to be, or in the Panama seem to be as knowledgeable, if not more in some cases, like up on the latest and greatest.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I first moved here, I'd maybe been here 2 weeks, and I got all this pressure in my ear. I couldn't even hear. My husband was talking, and I couldn't hear anything he was saying. I could just see his lips were moving. I was so stopped up in my ear, so I went and saw who was Dr. Chin, where Dr. Gomez's office is now. Dr. Chin's retired, and and he did a thorough exam and checked all my vitals and everything, and he said I had a sinus infection. And his prescription for me that he actually wrote out was to eat have a tablespoon of local honey every day because he said it has the antibodies in it that are going to prevent you from getting sick. It'll help you acclimate. 1 tablespoon of local honey every day, and I needed to have 3 kiwi every day because it's very high in vitamin C. And then he also gave me an antibiotic, but it was only for 3 days. He said, you don't need a whole 7 days. He said, if you do the honey and the kiwi for 7 days, then that's going to kick it out. So it was a very different experience. That was my very first doctor experience. Nothing like I'd ever, nothing like I'd ever experienced before.
But did it work?
Yes. And in 3 days, I was well. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Right? In 3 days, I was well. So that's just an example of them taking a more holistic approach. Yes. Like you said, green smoothie every day. You need to walk a little bit more, or, quit eating potatoes or whatever that it might be. But they look at the big picture, which I really appreciate.
Well, now, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just because that's one of the things that we found, and I also think too, when we're talking in terms of our health and our blood work, the food that we get here is so much more fresh and flavorful, but it's also less antibiotics, less preservatives, less hormones. It is a juxtaposition. I mean, it's just 180 degrees different in terms of the additives that we're getting. And I can't help but think that is also
has a lot to do with it.
Contributor to our improved health.
Yeah. In Texas, if I went to the grocery store and I bought one of those big containers of strawberries that look so beautiful, but they happen to get hidden in the back of your refrigerator, 2 weeks later, they would still look completely beautiful. Well, that's not natural. If you buy strawberries here, you better eat it within 24 hours because they're going to start turning brown spots, and they'll be in 2 days, they'll be no good. So because they don't put the preservatives, we're not consuming those preservatives, it does make a huge difference.
It does. Absolutely. And I think the other thing that is like, well, just today there's a little business that we can buy homemade pasta. I just picked up for $30 this huge thing of lasagna, homemade lasagna, 2 loaves of focaccia bread, a thing of homemade tomato sauce, and homemade spaghetti noodles and beef ravioli. All of that for $30. And it's made here. I mean, like it's so fresh, and you can't get that. You can't get that. This is one of the things, one thing I want to also address is safety. I think we were talking a little bit about that before. I really thought when I moved into this house, because we have bars on every single window, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to feel like I'm in a prison. I'm going to feel like I'm the one that's jailed. And what I've discovered, because it's a comment that's been made to me before, what I've discovered is these bars, I don't feel like it's to keep anything bad out. It's just, crimes of opportunity are pretty much what occur. You leave a bike out on the front porch overnight, it might be taken, or people are breaking and entering. These bars are almost like a deterrent, but I feel like we keep our windows open year round.
Right.
I could never, even if it was 70 degrees all the time in Texas, I would never do that.
Right.
And I never ever think about, oh, is somebody going to jump my fence and, try and break in or come in the house? So one of the things that I think is really important is that people understand that we have a sense that countries like this are, third world, or they're more dangerous or whatever. I can tell you, we had an arsenal of guns in the U.S. and we sold every single one, and we did not get any here. I could not feel safer.
Right.
I feel like, and the other thing is, as you get older here, people are much more respectful and caring and concerned and helpful. In the U.S., you get old, you're almost invisible.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you love living here just as much as I love living here, but there's still things that you might miss from the United States. Of course, we've always got Amazon that we can order something from Amazon. If we can't find it here, we can always get it from Amazon if we're willing to pay the $3 a pound to get it here.
Right.
But what are some things that you miss?
I think it's a given that I miss being able to see my family like that, right?
Mhm.
You get up, you go drive down literally I could drive 10 minutes and see my grandkids. So we Zoom a lot. I promise I'm not trying to be anything other than just honest. After 3 years, we really don't miss a lot.
Yeah.
I miss the convenience of Walmart. Okay.
Mhm.
But I don't miss the prices. I don't miss the junk food. I don't miss the consumerism. I don't miss the crowds. We've learned to live more simply. We have a ton of stuff delivered. What do I miss? I'm sorry. I am not good at that question because we love it so
I
deep.
miss Tex-Mex food.
Okay. Mexican Inn. Okay. They have the best little chili rellenos.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. When I had to go back to Texas for business in February. And I really thought, oh, I can't wait to drive again because we don't drive. We don't have a car by choice. And I thought, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to get to drive. No, that's a hard no. I love my driver, Yvonne, which I found in the Panama relocation group. So I thought, oh, I can't wait to go get a Sonic, the vanilla, the Sonic vanilla, Diet Coke with vanilla and tater tots. $7 for a large vanilla Diet Coke and small tater tots. And I thought, yeah, I don't miss it that bad.
You don't miss that. You don't miss that.
I used to think I missed fabric stores, but that's just, consumerism, right? I mean, you can see this is only one small part of what I've got.
Yeah.
I really can say that after 3 years, we have just found a niche and a groove. To your point, what we amortize. So I keep crazy budgets. Okay. I mean, I save every receipt and I keep a budget. Our taxi expenses every month is less than about $130. So you can't have a car for that amount of money, right?
Right. Exactly.
And what we've learned is if we can't find it at one of several stores that we go to, Price Mart, Ray's, Lorena, if we can't find it there, then we just immediately order it.
Right.
But we try to bundle our orders so that we at least get things all at once.
Yeah.
Amazon can't seem to get that down. I still get 4 packages even if I order it all at once and they say, pick this Amazon shipping day to get it all together. But I can't, I have to say, we just love it so much. I'll tell you what, if I was going to be prissy, what I miss is continuous electric service. The electricity drops out here.
Yeah.
Sometimes
once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, probably not nearly as much as they've done some repair work down on Via Boquete. So we don't have nearly as much as we used to. I can't say that we really miss anything.
Yeah. So I know people are going to be real curious because we get the question all the time, can I live in Panama without a car? And, my usual answer is if you live closer to downtown, then you can walk all over the place. But the trade-off is it's going to be noisy. You're going to hear the road traffic. You're going to hear the live music from Thursday, Friday, Saturday at all the different restaurants and the ferias and just the congestion of downtown. But, you're a perfect example that you can live. You're probably 10 minutes from downtown Boquete, 10 minutes. And living in a residential neighborhood, and you get by just fine without a car by just having certain taxi drivers in your speed dial on the phone and getting around that way.
And what it causes you to do, I will say, there are rare occasions when you ask, what do we miss? It isn't necessarily anything in the U.S. Every now and then, maybe once a quarter, we'll be like, gosh, I wish we had our own car so we could, do this. But if you curate your experience, so if you make lists and you you plan, then it's okay. If you're the kind of, I mean, we see people, we live on a corner up high, and so we sit out on the front porch a lot just because we get beautiful breezes. And so we see some people who live here going in and out 3 and 4 times a day. And I know they're running down to the checkpoint or they're running into town to get stuff. So we have to make lists and be more intentional. But you can get taxis from here to town for $5.
Right.
You ride the bus for $1.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Well, and you know, even if you had a car, it would, the maintenance, the gas, the insurance, and everything else would cost you more than the $130 a month that you're spending on transportation. So,
as a matter of fact, I'm pulling up my spreadsheet right now. Our taxis, as of this year, because I have it at the end of the row, I'm getting the average per month. This year is $119.08. And last year, our taxi every month was $139.83. You can't own a car for that. And I will tell you, if you want to go to town, if I want to go to town, I call him my driver, Yvonne, and he'll coordinate. Either he'll come get us or he'll send a taxi. So we can go anywhere we want anytime. We are absolutely not limited in being able to go. And if we want to go farther, there's buses that will take you to Boca Chica or buses that'll take you down to, Las Lajas. So
Panama City. Yeah.
Panama City, ride the overnight bus. So I think moving down here without a car, there's a different kind of freedom with that.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about an accident.
Or finding a parking place.
I mean, 100%. I mean, they can drop us up front and then they can just figure out what they're going to do till we're done. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I know that some of our audience has some questions for you. Is it okay if I open it up for some questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, if anybody has a question for Sarah, if you please put 3 question marks in front of it, then I will pop it up on the screen.
I didn't see the chat up to this point.
Someone asked me a question. I can't find it now. They want to know if you're renting or if you bought your house, and tell us about your home.
So we are renting. When we first, Rennie isn't the property manager anymore, but she was. And so she helped us. We rented for 1 year. And then at the end of that year, we asked her if she would coordinate with the owners to sign a long-term lease. And so she asked them how long would they feel comfortable. We got to sign a 5-year lease.
Perfect.
It's astonishing. And we negotiated a 90-day notice just in case they needed us to move, because we're old. I cannot pack and move in 30 days.
No. Yeah, exactly.
So what we have, we're sitting right now, this is a 16 by 20 room that I use for quilting. It used to be the owner's office. And then like a little back porch. And then we have 3 bedrooms. One is an office. Then we have a master bedroom with a adjacent bath. And then we have a guest bathroom. And then we have a spare bedroom. And then living room, dining room, kitchen, laundry room, garage, and a bodega. Yeah, I remember the pictures of your kitchen. You have an amazing kitchen. Yeah, it's unique, but I really like it. It's we have a 6-burner, this huge 6-burner stove. We have this gorgeous fridge. I mean, it's lovely. It's narrow. Thank God my husband's skinny, because when we're both in there, we're just kind of like, but it's lovely. Not our countertops don't match, but I don't care. I mean, again, these are the things you have to just give up. Yeah. With this mindset that everything has to match. You just rearrange your priorities on what's most important to you, and improving your health and saving money and less stress. Those should be at the top of the priority list. All the little, the fancy things, it's just not important. So Deborah wants to know, what Boquete neighborhood do you live in that you don't need a car? Oh, we live in Brisas, Boquetenas. Boquetenas? I always say that. Yeah. I just say Brisas.
Yeah.
Breezus. Yeah, we live. Well, there's actually another Breezus. I just found out there's another
Okay.
Breezus. I didn't know that. But we live about 2 kilometers from the checkpoint and about 7 kilometers out of town. And it is fabulous. Okay, so what kind of visa? We got pensionados. I was gonna get back then. They had the friendly nations that was really easy to get, but I wanted to retire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got the pensionado.
So with a pensionado visa, for those that don't know, you only need to show that for a couple, you only need to prove that you have $1,250 in lifetime income. And that can be just one person and both people are able to get a visa, or you can combine income from one person, you know, pension from one person, pension from another person, so long as the total amount together is 1,250. So if you've got Social Security, military retirement, or any of those things, it's super, super easy to get that pensionado visa. It's also the most affordable visa because the government fees are waived. So it saves you $1,050 per person right off the top if you get the pensionado visa.
Can I answer? I saw somebody ask a question about the quilting stuff. Can I answer?
Sure. Go ahead. I missed it, so go ahead.
It was 30 minutes ago almost. So I didn't even realize there was a chat here. So sorry. Julianne Karen, I think, asked. I just brought a couple brothers. I didn't bring anything big. The widest neck was like 9 inches. So the thing to remember, I am in a very luxurious position in that we do not have a lot of problem with mold in this house. You've got to be aware when you come down here with fabric or highly computerized equipment, as Jackie will tell you. I had to learn before I moved here, there's like 13 microclimates. And I mean, just literally 2 miles up the road, somebody's struggling with mold. And so you just have to be aware. Every situation is different. So that's that. Yes, there are quilt guilds. There's a quilting company, I guess, a quilting organization in Volcan, which is about an hour and a half away. So, and then lots of people like to quilt that aren't organized in a group. So
Monique wants to know, how did you find the farms that deliver your fresh fruits and vegetables?
So word of mouth. Jackie will tell you the best way to learn anything here is just to ask people, where do you get your stuff? And we had some friends. The lady across the street was getting stuff delivered, and I asked her where that was. So I will say organic. You know, organic is a highly debatable term, depending on who you are and what you consider organic. I will say here, I think of everything as being organic and that they use very little pesticides on things. Jackie has a greenhouse that has these sticky things that there's no pesticides, you know, that it attracts the bugs that way. I think of my food as organic because I have to make sure there's no bugs on it. You know, you're getting things that are that fresh. So if I'm getting something that fresh that I have to, you know, check for little critters, that to me that's organic enough. So we get we have a farm called Grupo Landau that delivers some of the best vegetables I've ever had. They look polished. Tomatoes, eggplants, every kind of pepper you can imagine, onion, celery. We have another farm called Finca Bahrain that does tons of lettuce, lots of herbs, lots of green things. They just started doing ground pork belly, lots of roasts, beef, eggs. Okay, can we just talk about the difference in eggs here, Jackie? I don't think anybody believe, like, eggs and butter. We commented on eggs and butter for probably a month. You know, the butter's really buttery and it's yellow.
It's orange color. That's the color of the yolks here.
Yes. And they're just huge. I mean, you don't look for the small, medium, large. I mean, you get a thing of eggs and the eggs are huge. And we get them from the farm because they're fresher.
Right.
They don't, they're non-fertilized, and I'm not going to even explain all that, but you know, we love we love these farms, and there's several of them. I don't think there's anything you can't get delivered if you don't.
There's also a couple of companies that they have food that they've already prepared, and then they froze it, and you can buy it from them. So when you're just not in the mood to cook, or you think, oh my gosh, it's 6 o'clock and I forgot to eat today. That happens to me all the time. Then it's in the freezer. You can pop it in the oven, and dinner's going to be ready in a few minutes without cooking, or calling a taxi to take you to go get something. So it's nice to have those little conveniences available too.
We can get these delivered. So for folks that are thinking about no car, I mean, we get so much delivered. It's crazy. But you can also go to the Tuesday market, and there's people there who sell food. So
right. So Joseph, your husband is a disabled veteran, and this gentleman is also a disabled veteran. He's asking, how are the veteran services in Panama?
Jackie and I were talking about that a little bit ago. They're fantastic. We could not be more pleased with the quality of services here. And I think I know what I'm talking about. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. But once you're a certain percentage of disabled, you qualify for what's called the FMP, Foreign Medical Program. So even if your disability doesn't cover it, you can still go to the most of the VA service hospitals or doctor's offices, and then you sign a form and they file it for you, and the Foreign Medical Program will cover that expense. So we have found the veteran service programs, everybody, to be kind, compassionate, helpful, understanding. I mean, they saved his life. I think if we would not have been here, he would have died. He's a Vietnam veteran and had some Agent Orange issues, shall we say. And he's 75. I'm 63, so he's 13 years older. And it's really hard watching the person you love get old. And it's even harder watching the person that you love get older and struggling with health issues. So we're super grateful for the services.
By the way, if there are any other veterans that are on our live stream, you can go to our website at Panama Relocation Tours, and in the search feature, just type in veterans at the top. And I have a complete article about the veterans medical benefits that are available. There's also several videos where I've interviewed the veteran service officers here for them to give even more information. Those veteran service officers are volunteers. They don't get paid. They've gone through extensive training, and their whole mission in their life is to help every single veteran that moves to Panama get any and all medical benefits that are available to them and get signed up for it. So Stephanie has a comment here. Just want to say, Sarah, you have such a beautiful spirit and love your tattoos. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
So Monique says, I'm wondering how easy is it to get things delivered if you don't have an address?
Oh my gosh. So this is
Everybody wants to know that one.
So first of all, let's talk. There's like 3 layers to this. One is you're so used to having a mailbox out in front of your house that you just cannot imagine life without a mailbox. So let me just tell you, you're going to love not having a mailbox because you don't get junk mail anymore, ever. There's no junk mail to be had in Panama. If Jackie was my friend who lived in the U.S. and she wants to mail me something, I would give her an address, typically in Miami, of a mail forwarding service. And there's quite a few. I use Box Shop. Jackie likes, I think, Servitech. There's several. So they give you a specific address. You have your stuff mailed there. So Jackie mails me a letter or a package to Miami, and then they forward it to me. They have my forwarding address here in Boquete, and it goes to their office here in Boquete, and they notify me via email, and I go pick it up. Now, here's the fun part. I don't give my address out to anybody, because if it weighs anything up to £1, I'm going to pay $3 to receive that. So I don't want a letter. I don't want Christmas cards. I don't want any of that stuff. You have things delivered that you really can't find here. So you can get things delivered, but you really give up typical mail.
Yeah, and now for local things like the fruit and vegetables that you have delivered and other things, you send your order in on WhatsApp. and you share your location. There's a little paperclip symbol where you can share your location. Then they know exactly where to bring it to. So you don't have to say, 456 Main Street, because we don't have that. But you just share your location, then they can use Google Maps or Waze to get right to your house, to make the deliveries to your house. So, we can get things shipped from Amazon or Walmart or from our kids. There's a way to do that, but there's things to get things delivered right to your house. For example, I placed an order from PriceSmart the other day, and they delivered it right to my house. Didn't cost anything.
They can ask Reese's. We cannot get stuff delivered here. It's crazy.
Yeah, they deliver there. Yeah, they delivered. They delivered to me. So PriceSmart delivers, because I hate shopping.
You know what else we did is we had a map made of our neighborhood that numbers each of the houses. So I can say I'm in this house number. And then we took a picture of the front of our house. So we send on WhatsApp, we send the pin, as you mentioned. Then we send a picture of our house. And then we give them the, like we have a big driveway and blah, blah. So.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody
wants to know, is it hard to find a house cleaner or gardener? No, just get recommendations. Somebody will always have a recommendation.
And I will tell you, the hardest thing for us to get used to was the tipping. I want to talk about this. If you see tipping and paying people, you want to overpay. It's a temptation. Don't do it. I have a housekeeper who comes and she's here from 8 to noon ish. And I pay her $20 for 4 hours. I have 4 gardeners that come, and I don't have a big yard, but it's big enough. I have 4 gardeners that come and work for a couple of hours, and I pay them $40. And they mow, weed eat, rake, weed my flower beds. I mean, they work their tails off, and it's all I can do to not overpay. So it's not hard to find anybody. You have to be super careful, because there's what we call gringo pricing. And it's just hard. It's hard to understand, accept, and believe that the pricing here is reasonable. And you feel like, oh, I should pay more, or I should tip 20%, or I should. And Jackie, she had to slap my hand quite a few times. Stop doing that.
No, I'm always telling people, don't be too generous. Don't pay too much. Don't tip too much. In North America, they're used to this 20% tip or more. And here, if they have good service, you give them 10% tip. But even if it's a taxi, you don't have to tip a taxi driver. I don't tip a taxi driver if I use one. If you're getting your hair done, you've paid for the service to get a really great job. And, if they did it fast and they weren't on their cell phone talking to other people and they just paid attention to getting you in and out quickly, maybe they'll get a 10% tip.
It's a perfect, we tip when I go to get, so can we talk about salon? I go to the salon, I get my fingers, toes, my hair washed, and it's like $50. And your temptation is to, we'll tip everybody a ton. I mean, I had to learn to tip $1 or $2. It's such a temptation. I got the dogs, all three dogs done, washed, nails trimmed, ears, all of the things. And it was $70. Okay. I used to pay
for 3 dogs.
All 3 dogs. And I mean, you want to just oh my God, here's $20. Thanks so much. You have to say, okay, 10% is $7.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a learning experience. It's not hard to find good people. You just have to be super cautious about not getting overcharged.
Not getting the gringo price. And one of the reasons that's so important, well, first of all, you don't want to raise the price for other gringos and other people that are moving into the area. But more importantly, you don't want to raise the price so that Panamanians can't afford to have a housekeeper, because all the other people are paying too much, or they can't afford to have a mani-pedi because everybody else is paying too much. So the vendors raise their prices too much. So you have to be respectful of what the regular prices are here, so that you don't create any animosity with Panamanians because you're the one that's paying too much or you've caused the prices to go up.
Right. I see Sylvia. I don't know.
Lots of questions. Yeah, just go ahead. I don't see it, but you can go ahead and answer it.
So Sylvia asked a question. Well, I think this was maybe before the 3 question mark instruction, but Sylvia asked, are your quilts for display or use? Have you noticed a lot of demand? So let me say quickly, I used to be a global consultant for communication and behavior and time management, but I had on the side a quilting job, and I've quilted since I was 12. And I used to do custom quilts and quilt restoration. When I moved here, the first thing I learned was quilting here is different. They don't quilt like we quilt back in the US. They do things like they're called molas. And that is a very traditional ethnic cultural thing. And quilts for sale here are not normal or typical. There is this quilting group in Volcan. Wonderful woman named Marianne is teaching the local folks how to make quilts, and their quilts are fabulous. And so they're making their quilts to sell to make money for them to improve the quality of their life. My experience has been, yeah, if I had the right visa, I might be able to make quilts to sell them, but I didn't come here to do that. I came here to retire. So I'm making quilts to give away. I've given them away to the Bocchetti Health and Hospice Group. I'm in the middle of a project to make 60 quilts for the local orphanage. And then I'm just going to make quilts and pass them out on the street, I guess. So I would say that you probably, I don't know that you could make quilts and sell them here like you would in the US. It's
well,
just
the other thing is you wouldn't make as much money as you would make on a quilt in the US. So
no.
If it's your passion, then you'll do it like you do because it's your passion and people can enjoy your quilts at the orphanage.
There's freedom in that. I can make what I want because I'm giving it away. Yeah, so there's that.
Right. So just a couple of more. I know we have some other questions. We could go on for 3 hours with questions. Believe me, we could. We have 341 people on our live stream, so the questions could go all night. And I thank you so much for everybody being here. Do you have any final words of wisdom for anybody that's thinking about moving to Panama on what they should do?
I feel really strongly that if you're going to move to Panama, you need to make a choice to leave the U.S. behind. And that means politically, it means culturally. And I don't mean to reject or denounce or renounce, but I mean, you still vote, do whatever. But when you come here, leave U.S. politics, because that's why one of the things you're doing is you're trying to make a new life here. And I would say that when you come to Panama, be willing to embrace the culture, be willing to embrace the fact that maybe you can't find I always tease Debbie Clappett, your red Twizzlers. Okay, so find something else. Like, I'm a whiskey drinker. They don't have Crown here. I had to find a new whiskey, or come here curious. If you're the work that you put in to move to a different country seems fruitless to me if you're going to constantly be comparing it to the country you left.
Or trying to recreate the life that you had before. Yeah, right? It's just not going to work.
And there's something else. Somebody posted something in the Panama relocation group, and I wanted to comment on it here. Don't second guess yourself. Because if you keep saying, oh, am I making the right decision? Then anything that comes up that's a problem or a challenge or you are uncomfortable with, then you're going to say, oh, is that my sign that this was the wrong thing? There are always going to be challenges. You're going to feel weird if you don't know Spanish. You're going to be frustrated when mañana does not mean tomorrow. The change in getting used to different cultures. Be curious. So I would just say, you're going to go through the whipping of getting the visas and moving your stuff and the stress of shipping dogs and all of that. Come here and just be curious about becoming more Panamanian, settling into the life here instead of, like Jackie says, you're not trying to recreate anything.
Right. Yeah. Not trying to recreate it. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to talk to Panamanians. Some of them might not know a word of English, but you can communicate somehow or other. It works before you know any Spanish. With Google Translate and other things, you can communicate. So one of the things that's so important about Panama is some people come here, they only hang out with the expats. They've never even talked to a Panamanian. Well, the whole purpose of coming here is to experience this beautiful country, the new culture, and the people. And you'll find that the people in Panama are just like the people where you came from. They want a better life for their kids. They want safety. They want to make a little bit more money next year. So everybody has the same dreams and goals that you had. And you'll find that Panamanians have so much more in common with us than you ever believed.
And I will say one of the earliest things that I learned how to say in Spanish was "Lo siento, mi español es malo," and it means I'm sorry, my Spanish is bad. And every single time I said that to a Spanish speaker, their face lights up and they're like, "Oh, mi inglés es mal." I mean, my English is bad.
Yeah.
So then you've got this bond, but when you get the Spanish in your mouth, they don't care if it's bad, because we expect people to treat us as non-Spanish speakers like the U.S. treats non-English speakers, and it's not that way. The Panamanians here are lovely, and if you try and you're curious,
and you have a big smile, everything is going to be fine.
And polite. Oh my gosh, I had to learn you just want to jump into the business and they all are like, "Oh, good morning. How are you?" This you have to, it's lovely. It's a different layer of genteelness.
Yeah. So what she was talking about is like, if you, even if you go into the bank and you see the teller at the bank, instead of just, handing her your deposit slip and everything, you say, "How are you today? ¿Cómo está?" And you ask them, or whenever you're going to send a WhatsApp to someone and you want to place an order to get some food delivered, you start with, "I hope you're having a great day. How are you today?" So you start with a politeness. It's so important. It's so important here in Panama. And if you just jump right in the business, they'll correct you and they'll say, "Well, Jackie, how are you today?" They'll put you right back where you're supposed to be, and then let's just start this thing all over again.
It's so true. And I saw where somebody mentioned about veterinary services, and you got to put, I think you have to put the 3 question marks at the end too. Is that the deal at the beginning?
No, just 3 in the beginning, but they put them in different places.
Oh, gotcha. Well, somebody asked about veterinary services, and they come to our house.
Yeah. So
I have a 14-year-old dog. I had the vet come to the house just because she was acting weird. It was $25.
Yeah.
So, and they're good. They care. They, we had to have a pet put down last year, and they came to my house, and they're almost in tears with me, and they're so sorry. I mean, nothing's perfect. I have to just remind everybody, nothing's perfect, but you will find what you look for here. If you look for,
and there's a really good support system of Panamanians and expats that if you just ask for help, people will help. So that's going to work. So Sarah, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of this information with everybody about your move to Panama. I'm so glad that the online Panama relocation guide helped make your move a little bit easier.
Absolutely. We couldn't have done it without the guide and the help from the folks who paved the way before.
Right. So thank you so much for sharing all of this information. I know we still have some other questions. If anybody has some other questions for me or for Sarah, you can send an email to info@panamarelocationtours.com, and I'll be glad to forward it to Sarah, and then she can answer that way, or I'll answer it for you. But I want to thank everybody for being here on our Saturday Night Live that we do every single Saturday.
I appreciate all that you've done with Panama Relocation Tours, and I know that you work hard to keep the best interests of folks who are moving in mind.
I do. Yep. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, Sarah, and everybody on the live stream. I hope you enjoy yours also. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week. Bye.